In this video, I'm going to show you how to get a physique like Inosuke. Over the past 2 years, Demon Slayer has taken the anime community by storm. This is the perfect opportunity to analyze the physique of my favorite character, Inosuke, and provide a strategic and scientific program to help you accomplish the same look. This isn't a breakdown of how to train like he trains. That's just unproductive and boring. Get it? No? No, this is how we can structure and implement a proper training program into our own lives to achieve this type of physique. Inosuke is a short-tempered young man with a lot of pride. He is constantly challenging and battling others in order to prove himself as the strongest fighter. On top of this, he is absolutely wild and extremely fun to watch. In fact, I think he might be the funniest character I've seen in recent anime history. So I'm going to break down this analysis into 3 parts. The first will be looking at the strengths of Inosuke's physique from a bodybuilding perspective. Then I'll provide you with a step-by-step resistance and cardiovascular training program. And finally, I'll briefly go over the nutritional aspects to obtain a physique like Inosuke's. But first, if you're not subscribed yet, make sure to do that so you don't miss any other videos coming out on how you can stay fit and healthy. Okay, let's jump into it. Part 1, Inosuke's physique. Inosuke is such a unique character for several reasons, including the fact that he was raised by wild boars. Because of this, much of his behavior is animalistic in nature. This attributes to many of his physical abilities and attributes. At 5'4.5" and 139 pounds, Inosuke has a decent amount of muscle packed onto his frame, but he's not big like Baki or Broly. He's dense and lean. Here are his strongest attributes. By far, his most defining muscular feature are his abs. They're always popping to affirm just how little body fat he has. Second is his chest. It isn't huge, yet it is quite defined and creates good symmetry with the abs. Finally, his shoulders and arms are proportional with his other attributes. His delt insertion provides him with a leaner look, and his forearms match the muscularity of his biceps. So what can we learn from this? In order to obtain this kind of look, we're going to need to focus our training on the abs, chest, shoulders, and forearms. Some of Inosuke's primary physical abilities include enhanced strength and flexibility along with great speed and endurance. This means that on top of the previously mentioned muscles, we'll be focusing on lifting heavy, power development, and endurance. Side note, flexibility training will also be beneficial. However, for the purposes of this video, I want to focus on the resistance and cardiovascular training aspects. Plus, resistance training with a full range of motion will actually aid in flexibility, and in most cases can supplement as your full flexibility training. Part 2. Training. Luckily, achieving a physique like Inosuke's won't be as difficult as other anime comparisons, say Goku. However, we will need to make sure that we block out about 4 days a week for resistance training and 4 to 5 days a week for cardiovascular training, meaning that most of those days are actually going to overlap. So here's the breakdown. Day 1 and 3 will focus on the strength, aesthetics, and endurance aspects of Inosuke. On this day, we'll start our resistance training by implementing the barbell bench press for chest density, dumbbell curl to press, or as some people call them, Arnold's, for biceps and shoulder development, band flies for chest width and separation, band rows to balance out the upper body, leaning dumbbell lateral raises for growth in the lateral delts, hanging leg raises for the lower abs, and finally, decline sit-ups with a pillow under the back for overall ab development. These will all be around 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps with an increasing volume over time. Side note, this program should last anywhere from about 4 to 6 weeks, and after that, I recommend changing things up a bit. But you can still utilize the same formula from this routine. All of these lifts will focus on the strength and aesthetic characteristics of Inosuke. You'll also want to include your cardiovascular training on these days. For endurance, we'll simply start with jogging. If your joints can't handle high impact, then you can do incline walking or the row machine. Either way, this will be your steady state endurance training. Start with about 10 to 15 minutes on these days and then gradually increase by a few minutes each week. Go at an intensity that's around a 7 out of 10 in the first few weeks, and then by that 4 to 6 week marker, have the intensity up to about a 9 or 10. So do this on day 1 and 3, and 5 if you include the 5th cardio session in your program. So day 2 and 4 will primarily focus on power development. This helps you with your speed and explosiveness. The reps on these workouts tend to be a lot smaller as the lifts can be a lot more technical. Here's the breakdown. First, start with squat jumps. This can be done with weight or not, depending on where you are in your journey. Next, we'll do mid-thigh pulls, which is the precursor to a lot of weightlifting movements like the clean and jerk and snatch. Then we'll go into our explosive push-ups. Keep in mind that these can be done like a normal push-up or on your knees if you have to. From there, we'll go into kettlebell swings, which can also be performed with a dumbbell. And we'll finish with box jumps. For the cardio on day 2 and 4, the focus will be more on HIIT training or high intensity interval training. Now there are several different ways to do this. One of my favorite is to simply apply a 4-to-1 ratio, meaning that if you're running, you'll perform a slower run for about 2 minutes and then pick up the pace for 30 seconds and then you'll repeat. Another variation could be hill sprints, where you sprint up a hill and then jog back down. You could also choose a machine like an elliptical and just set it for interval training. Whichever way you choose, again, start with an intensity of about a 7 out of 10 and then build up to a 9 or 10 by the end of your program. Part 3, nutrition. I'm not going into an immense amount of detail here, partly because I'm not a dietitian and partly because it's so dependent on each individual. For instance, if you weigh 200 pounds, trying to reach this type of physique is going to call for a completely different strategy than someone only weighing 120 pounds. Having said this, I can provide you with a little bit of guidance. First things first, Inosuke is lean. So if you are a bit on the heavier side, I'd be included here, then our primary focus will need to be on trimming body fat. The way this happens is through having a calorie deficit, or burning more calories than you take in. One easy way to do this is through manipulating your carb intake. For instance, when you have a training day, then most of your carbs are going to be around your workouts. That is before, during, and after you train. And then when you have a day that you're not training, then maybe only have good complex carbs in your breakfast and then cut them out the rest of the day. On top of this, make absolutely sure that you're having a consistent intake of lean protein in every single meal. Lean protein looks like chicken breast, turkey, eggs, protein shakes, fish, etc. Now in our other scenario, if you're already really skinny and need to bulk up, then you'll need to be in a calorie surplus, meaning that you're eating more than you're burning. The trick here is to have the right kinds of calories. I recommend having protein equivalent to your body weight in grams, meaning that if you weigh 120 pounds, then you'll want about 120 grams of protein per day. Another way to add meaningful calories is to increase your carb intake, especially on days that you train. You should be having at least 500 more calories when you train as compared to your off days. For either scenario, make sure you have a clear goal in mind and track everything that you're doing. That way, if you're not seeing the results that you want, after a few weeks you'll know that you either need to take away calories or add calories to your eating. It is important to remember 2 things. Number 1, Inosuke has been training his whole life in order to obtain this type of physique. And number 2, anime characters are drawn with hyperbole, meaning that they're meant to exaggerate reality. I do believe a physique like Inosuke's is obtainable depending on your genetics and commitment, but it will take time and perhaps much longer than just 4 to 6 weeks. And that's okay. No matter what your fitness goal is or how long it takes, you have the capacity to achieve it. I hope you found this video entertaining and educational. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next workout videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bam!